Welcome to the St. Louis Pain Expert Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Dave Candy. This is the final episode of the podcast for 2020, which will probably go down in history for most of us as the strangest year in our lifetimes, and will probably forever be known as the year of the coronavirus or the year that we stayed home. In fact, I even have a Christmas ornament this year that we got. It says 2020, the year we stayed home. There were certainly a number of bad aspects that you can consider from this year as far as health, as far as the economy, as far as unemployment, some of the riots that happened this year. But from every adversity, there is a lesson to be learned. And so rather than looking back at all the negatives, I want to look at some of the positive things that we can learn from this year, that have happened this year, and that we can take moving forward into 2021 to turn this crazy year into a positive, something that we can learn from and grow from and make our lives better in the year to come. I also have some exciting announcements to make at the end of this podcast about the future direction of my practice, as well as some special offers for people who want to improve their health, either through better nutrition or through relieving sciatic nerve pain, even if you're not ready to get back out into the community yet. So listen in. I hope you enjoy the rest of this episode. And if you do, subscribe to our podcast so you get notified of future episodes and can get all the value that you've gotten this past year throughout 2021. So looking back on this year, it's easy to focus on the negatives. The incredible amount of people who got sick, the incredible amount of people who died during the year. We had lots of turmoil from the elections and from other political issues. We had riots and hashing out some systemic inequalities in society, and just not only coronavirus this year, but it's been a strange year. But from every adversity, there's growth opportunities. And I think a lot of what really inspired me this year was just forcing me to take the time to slow down and kind of reflect on things. That, if you were either staying at home because of being furloughed for work or laid off of work or quarantining in your own house, and you were around your family a lot more this year than probably you've been in past years. And there weren't a lot of places to go. You couldn't go out to a lot of the entertainment places. A lot of the stores were closed. Restaurants were closed for a good majority of the year in a lot of places. And so really just getting connected with some of the people that are the most important with us, but sometimes we tend to neglect. And 2020 was really an opportunity to reconsider values, reconsider what's important in our lives. And when you strip away all the other things like the activities that we're typically so involved in and typically see as so important, all the fancy things that we like to buy at stores, all the things that we think really give us our identity, you find out when you strip all that away, there are still a few things that last even in the midst of a pandemic. And those things, to me, I think are, number one, family. That if I had to close my practice completely for the rest of my life, which fortunately we were able to stay open through the most of it, but looking back, I could find another job. I could find another practice. But to give up family members would just be devastating. And to really slow down in 2020, to be out at home more often and see some of the things that you miss when you're busy doing all the other things in life that really aren't that important in the grand scheme of things. I know a lot of other people that I've talked to this year have mentioned that, it's been an okay year. Maybe not the best from a job perspective or a financial perspective, but I know a lot of people have said that 2020 has really been one of the happiest years of their lives, where they did take the time to focus back on what was important to them and live their lives in a way that was more in alignment with what their values are. That a lot of people, when they feel unhappy or they feel anxious or they feel depressed, there's an alignment issue, and not a physical alignment like a joint in your spine being off, but an alignment where you don't feel genuine, where you feel like you're acting like someone who isn't your true self. And that's really a recipe for disaster. I know several people who have stayed home with their kids, homeschooling them, either by loss of job or by working from home, and have decided that, hey, that's really what I like to do, that I value that more than potentially going into a job, earning an income, or maybe they've started an at-home business where they can earn a little bit of income, maybe not as much, or maybe even more, working from their own home and still have the time to connect with their families and see the things that are valuable. Now, on the flip side of things, there are people out there who have just been incredibly stressed this year, have been worried, have been incredibly fearful about catching the virus, and have really stopped living their lives waiting for things to get back to quote unquote normal. And I think somewhere along the lines, we all kind of recognize that the old normal is not going to be the new normal. And the people who could accept that and move on and say, hey, this is going to be a new adventure. I don't really know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to adapt to it the best I can and just make the most out of each day. Those people have seemed to be more resilient through this, that they've been generally happier, more fulfilled with their lives, whereas people who are just waiting for it to get back to the old normal or know it's never going to be that way and kind of have regret or remorse that, boy, I had it so good before and now it's different. That's all gone. That dissatisfaction with the desired state and the current state of things is really what can brew depression. And one of the biggest things that I learned personally in 2020 that's helped really make this year not all that incredibly stressful despite everything that's going on is learning to emotionally disconnect from the outcome. That it is what it is. Accepting that the state of things, I don't have complete control over it, and the more that I want to have control over it and desire to have control about it, the more anxious and stressed I would get. Now, that's not to say not to try to control the factors that are within your control, but if you can't control something, it's certainly not worth worrying about it. I know by nature I'm a planner and I like to be in control and be able to say, if this happens, then this happens. And if this happens, then I'll do this. And if this happens, I'll do this. And if this happens, I'll do that. But I had someone who asked me several years ago, and this has been a work in progress, how many of the things that you ever actually worried about have actually come true or worked out the way that you planned it? And to be honest, it's fairly little. That if you have 1,000 thoughts a day about things that could potentially happen, probably 999 of them probably won't. So it sounds cliche, but really my motto for the year has just been take one day at a time, do the best you can each day, and what happens, happens. If it's not the outcome that you want, accept it and use that as a lesson to move forward. But the more times you spend regretting, oh, if only this had happened, or if only I had done this, or if only this virus wasn't here, then I would do this or that. Those kind of statements only get you stuck because you have absolutely no control over the outcome. And when you can emotionally disconnect like that, it lowers a lot of the stress chemicals, the cortisol and other hormones in your system that not only make you feel bad, but they impair your brain's ability to think about other things. And that's another big theme from 2020 is just the value of positivity and the harmfulness actually of negativity. That everywhere you look, there were politicians going back and forth at each other this year. There were messages on Facebook about I agree with this position or I disagree with that position, and people just being really pretty hateful towards each other on social media. And I remember a post from one of my friends saying that I saw a post that I didn't agree with on Facebook. I just kept scrolling. It didn't hurt at all. And it really just made me smile because It's so easy just to lash out and get emotional about things, but you see something you don't like, just keep scrolling down the page. It doesn't hurt you at all. On the contrary, you try to argue with someone about especially things like politics and religion, your chances of actually changing anybody's mind or their viewpoint on things like that are fairly little. But, it not only hurts the other person if you say hurtful things out of just emotion, but it's also bad for you. That holding a grudge actually hurts you more than it hurts the other person. The negative mood, the negative state of mind that you puts you in, it releases cortisol and other things that have all kinds of negative health effects. It also affects the people around you. Have you ever noticed that when you're around a happy, positive group, you tend to feel happy and positive, and when you're around a negative group of people, you start to feel negative and down? And you have that same effect on the people around you, your family and your friends and the people you care about, that when you're in a bad mood, it tends to put everyone else around you in a bad mood as well. So the more you can fill your mind with positive thoughts, either through affirmations, telling yourself positive attributes about yourself, that I'm strong, I'm smart, rather than I can't do this or I messed up on that, will make you feel better about yourself and ultimately manifest into being a better version of yourself. Likewise, gratitude has great benefits. If you listened to a couple episodes back to my podcast with Anil Gupta, he asked, when was the last time that you thanked your hands? What would you do without your hands? What if you lost your hands? And, a lot of times we don't think about the things that, just those small things in our lives, until we lose them. When you have an injury, you never realize how much you value your knees or how much you value having a pain-free, healthy back until it starts to bother you. And this year, with a lot of people getting ill or even passing away, a lot of times we don't value our health or value some of the people in our lives until we lose them or get close to losing them. So why not take time to be grateful for the things in our lives that we have before we get close to losing them? One of the other things that people missed this year was the connectedness with other people, staying at home and quarantining and not getting to see friends at either work or the gym or other social clubs or activities that you're into. Really made people feel disconnected some this year. But at the same time, that drove a lot of technological innovations. More people probably learned how to use Zoom this year than ever before, or other things like Facebook groups. And those are lasting benefits that we can gain even after we're able to get back out and see each other again in person and socialize in person. Some of those technological benefits that we've gained have been great, and necessity is the mother of invention. So seeing some of the progress that's been made this year and some of the new ways of doing things, as much of a hands-on therapist, I've been really surprised through some of the ways that we've been able to help people through telehealth, even without being able to see them in person or touch them. And that as practitioners, we think we affect people in certain ways, but sometimes the effects that we have on people is much more than it appears on surface level. And that kind of brings me into our big announcements that as of now, my practice, which you've known for the last 3 years as Movement for Life, is now going to be known as More for Life, because we do much more than movement. I've realized that we help people in a lot of ways through not just movement, not just hands-on therapy, but through managing stress better, through managing sleep better, through managing nutrition better, and through movement. And so our name has changed, but we are not any different than we used to be. In fact, we're more. But now our name just reflects truly the whole person therapy that we've been doing for the past several years. And moving on from that point, I have a couple programs that I'm excited to announce the start of coming in 2021. And the first one that I'd like to announce today is an online course called Relieve Sciatic Nerve Pain at Home. And this really came about from hearing a lot of stories from people who have been less active, less mobile, sitting around at home, maybe not eating as well as they could be, to some extent stressed out. And so this program will address the physical things that you can do on your own at home, whether or not you're ready to get back out and see someone in the office. But it will also address some of the other factors, the nutrition factors, the sleep factors, the stress factors, all of the other things that are really the big predictors of chronic pain. Now, since this is the first time that we're running this program, you're going to have a really special opportunity right now to be involved in the formation of it and what you would like this to look like. So if you suffer from sciatic nerve pain or you know someone who does, you can email me at dave@stlpainexpert.com to get more information about the program, or you can visit stlpainexpert.com/sciatica, and that will take you to the page where you can get more information about it and sign up. This first round of people who go through the program are really going to have more value out of it than anyone ever will in the future, because not only are they going to be able to get the content that comes with the program, but it'll also include an 8-week group coaching program along with individual consultations with me, so that we can really tailor this program for the future people who go through it. And for that, you're actually going to be getting the most value this time through for the lowest price that the course will ever be offered. So if you or someone you know needs help for sciatic nerve pain and would like to be able to do it from the comfort of your own home, visit stlpainexpert.com/sciatica for more information about the program, as well as to sign up for the best price that this program will ever be offered. And if you don't deal with sciatic nerve pain, keep listening to the podcast, subscribe to it so you get notified of future episodes, and I look forward to providing you more valuable tips in 2021, both on the podcast and through my clinical practice at More for Life. And if you have any questions for me individually on something that is not sciatica related and you would like some help either with pain or stress management or nutrition or any of the various things that we're offering, feel free to email me at dave@stlpainexpert.com. I hope you all had a very enjoyable holiday season. Have a happy and safe new year, and I look forward to bringing you more value in 2021.